Morning, everybody. Welcome to the Coral Springs Business Academy. I'm Cindy Brief, President and CEO of the Coral Springs Coconut Creek Regional Chamber of Commerce. I'm so happy to be here with you today, and we have a very exciting presentation. I want to thank our title sponsor, the City of Coral Springs Economic Development Office, and our Dean sponsor, Florida Power and Light. The mission of the Biz Academy is to provide opportunities to you, our business community, to advance your expertise and knowledge. We strive to highlight relevant issues and challenges in today's fast-changing business environment that will give you the leading edge. Just a few housekeeping tips for our attendees. There are two platforms to engage with us during this event, the chat function and the Q&A function. Please feel free to post your business information, greetings, and contact information into the chat box. Please use the Q&A box to ask any questions of the panelists, and we're going to take questions at the end. And now I would like to introduce our presenting sponsor, the Economic Development Office for the City of Coral Springs. Welcome, you and Diana.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Thank you, Cindy and the Chambers, for the introduction and for your partnership with the City of Coral Springs Economic Development Office. Once again, my name is Yu Subra and
I'm Diana Scarpeta.
At this time, we want to take the opportunity to mention about our Business Excellence Awards. Business Excellence Award is an annual program where we highlight and recognize the businesses that have contributed to the city's economic vitality, and we highlight their hard work and success. So this year we have received about 60 applications or nominations. We have selected 6 winners for the 2021 Business Excellence Award. The names of the businesses will be announced next week. So please stay tuned for through our social media, website, and press release. Other than that, what do we do in the Economic Development Office?
Well, something that I would like to share with everyone is that the City of Coral Springs, as many of you know, has a CRA area. And in this CRA area, we have a grant available that can be utilized for exterior improvements of commercial properties. The grant is 50% reimbursement of hard costs up to $25,000, and the monies can be used for exterior improvements such as windows, lighting, doors, paint, landscaping, and even business signage. So if you're interested, please contact our office and we will be happy to give you the information about the grant and assist you throughout the process, because that's our goal: help businesses succeed in the city.
And besides that, we also do a lot of business retention, attraction, and expansion to the city. So what we do is that we meet with a lot of existing businesses to talk about their issues and try to help them and provide them our tools and resources so we can help them grow and stay in the City of Coral Springs. We also provide them different marketing strategies and attract new business to come to the City of Coral Springs. So if you are interested and learn a little bit more about what we do for the businesses, please contact us at 954-344-5771 or email me at ysubra@coralsprings.org. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. That's some great information. I'm glad you shared the information about the CRA and what businesses can do over there, so that's great. And now I'd like to present our Dean sponsor, Mr. Tim Hogans from Florida Power and Light. I believe Becky is going to show a video first.
Things seem to get more expensive as the years go by. Take groceries. Prices have been going up there. And keeping up with your health? That's up too. But did you know at FPL, what you pay for energy has gone down over the last 15 years? And they're not cutting corners either. They're investing in energy that's not just the most reliable or the cleanest, but also the most affordable. A price lower than most states, actually. And that's something we can take to the bank. Okay, let's eat.
Great, and good morning. Thank you for sharing that video there, Becky and Sydney. Thanks for the opportunity to present. And obviously, it's always great to partner with Coral Springs and the Chamber as well. So good morning again, everyone. My name is Tim Hogans with Florida Power and Light Company. We're excited to be a sponsor here and looking forward to learning more about today as well. And, it's always a pleasure to be able to talk to the team here. But really quick, two things. One, of course, this is our dry run week of hurricane training. I know no one wants to talk about the H word, the hurricane word. But this week, every week, the first week of May, we always get together and do our practice drills and ensure that everything is on track and we're ready for another active, very active hurricane season as is predicted. Last year was very active as well. We had over 30 named storms. But this week we have the governor in town and a whole bunch of other electeds as we run through our processes and review what worked well and how we can make improvements as well. So be on the lookout. We know that June 1st through the end of November is hurricane season. So I hope and ask that you have a plan in place for your family, your loved one, and your pets. So I'll keep it short because I got to jump back on some more hurricane calls, but I do appreciate the opportunity and look forward to seeing you all in person again soon. Thank you, Cindy and Becky.
Thank you, Tim. And thanks for all the work you do and taking care of us during the hurricane, because nothing is worse than having no air conditioning. So, okay, we're going to get started with our program. I'm very excited about the program we have today. And our first speaker is Paula Rubiano. Paula is the Digital Media Manager and Public Information Officer for the City of Coral Springs. With a flair for all things creative and innovative, Paula graduated from the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale in 2010, earning a bachelor's degree in advertising. She has been living in Coral Springs for 20 years and is a graduate of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. As the Digital Media Manager and Public Information Officer for the city, Paula is responsible for a multitude of functions within the Communications and Marketing Department. Most notably, she strategizes content for the city's numerous social media platforms. Paula, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Cindy, for inviting me to speak here this morning. That was a great introduction. So let me just go ahead and pull up my presentation. Okay, so as you know, Cindy said, I'm a Coral Springs resident, been working with the city. I actually wanted to talk a little bit about how I got here and how I became a digital media manager. After graduating from the Art Institute, I focused a lot more on graphic design. I was actually hired as a graphic designer for the city of Coral Springs. But, being the youngest in the department and kind of when I first started 9 years ago, there was like a digital boom. So I was tasked with kind of coming up with a strategy for digital. And that's kind of how I ended up where I am today. So today I am going to go ahead and speak to you a little bit more about the digital marketing. But before I get started, I would love to know a little bit about, who my audience is. So if in the chat, you can go ahead and just tell me your name and what business you represent. I'll give you a few seconds. Okay. So let me go ahead and dive right into the presentation. So for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to focus on digital marketing, but I want you to start thinking about what digital platforms you use to market your business. You can feel free to share this in the chat or just kind of think about it. And the reason is this past year, something happened that affected all of us, COVID-19. The world stopped, but digital platforms didn't. We literally were tweeting out to the world our feelings. The pandemic actually accelerated the digital transformation of marketing. It taught us all to keep reacting to change. And as you all know, you had to really adapt to the pandemic and reinvent yourself, be quick. And that's kind of what the beauty of digital is. You have the ability to change your message quickly and reach your customers instantly. In the city, we started hosting virtual events because we knew that's what our residents wanted. They still wanted to keep connecting with us. But in order to launch a proper message, you have to know who your customers are. You have to know who you want to target. The audience can really change the way that you speak from your brand and how your ad might even look like. So I'm going to pause here for a second and I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the top generations that we have right now. So we have our generation, our baby boomers. We have our Generation X, our Generation Y, or Generation Z. I'm kind of interested to see what generation you guys fall under. So if you want to put that in the chat as well. So our Generation X and our baby boomers, this generation particularly is on Facebook. They jumped on Facebook, and just love Facebook. They like getting their news there. They like connecting with their children, with their parents, with their family, with their friends. Your Generation Y they've grown up with technology, but they also knew how to live without technology. This generation here is your Instagram users. They started on Facebook, but once their parents jumped on, they kind of decided to just stick to Instagram. They have some sort of presence on Facebook, but Instagram is their go-to. The generation I want to focus on is Generation Z. So this generation was born digital, and I kind of want to emphasize that this generation is kind of what's making us see where marketing is going to. They only know digital, so digital is the way that marketing is heading. Earlier, I asked you to think of what platforms you were using to market, and I know that the top 3 that come to mind are probably Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But there are so many more out there, and this is just a few that I came up with. Yelp, LinkedIn is huge for businesses. Pinterest and YouTube. We see how much video has been changing our digital marketing. So the first website presence digital presence I want to talk about is your website. Your website is your face. If you're not on social media, please make sure you have a website. A website is important because it helps you establish your business. In fact, customers today expect serious business owners to have an online presence. A well-designed, informative, and updated website will add credibility to your business and strengthen your brand. For example, this year, our city redid its website. And as you see here, it's the search button here is very, very the first thing you see on our website. And that's because nowadays our society kind of just wants to search for what they want. They don't have time to waste and look for things. So kind of Google, you're searching for what you want, that's what you get. So our website right now, I encourage you all to go ahead and go to coralsprings.org to look at that, but it's very, very user-friendly. My next point on digital marketing is conversations. So social media is a two-way communication, and as much as it's important to keep your website updated, it's very important to monitor your social pages. As I stated before, we now have the capability of reaching our customers instantly, and this has pushed for society to receive information quicker. So I'm going to give an example here. I'm a big fan of Starbucks, so I'm going to use a lot of their stuff. Starbucks put out this picture of a beautiful coffee, and right now on social, people just type whatever they're feeling. So Tony here saw this picture. I'm pretty sure he was not thinking about coffee until he saw this, and he asked a question about being, is this a lactose type of drink? So what did Starbucks do? They jumped in, they responded to Tony's question, but what was the main thing here? They pushed Tony back to their website for more information. So as much as social is important, your website is the one that holds all the information. However, I want to pause here and let you know that engagement, having conversations on social is much more important than having likes on your page. You can have 1,000 likes, but if only 5 people are engaging with your content, I think it's very important to kind of strategize on what kind of content you're pushing and who your audience is. So my next thing is keep a look at on what people are saying about your brand. It's very, very important nowadays to see what your customers are saying about your brand and how to jump in when it's needed. Starbucks here, I think, did an amazing job. So Troy Gu was very upset that his matcha powder was not mixed in with his milk. And he posted on Starbucks Facebook, and people jumped in. Some people were pretty much telling him he was right. So Starbucks jumped in, apologized. So right there, they made their customers feel good. And what do? They led them to their website. One happy customer that you have is, I think, the best strategy you can have, because word of mouth is much more bigger than anything else. So monitor what is being said about your brand. And most importantly, know when to stop engaging with trolls. And that's something like we deal a lot in the city. We have a lot of you're never going to make anyone happy. So know when to stop that conversation. Some people are just never going to be happy, and some people are just on social to kind of start a fight or an argument. So you cannot make everyone happy. Content tools. As much as conversations are important to monitor, we all know that content is key, and we have to understand what kind of content our customers are engaging with. So Canva. A lot of us, a lot of businesses don't have much graphic designers, or maybe they don't have a whole team. So I highly recommend Canva. It's an app that you can use. You pay very little if you want to add your logo, but layouts already come inside the app, and then you just click one, and then you write what you need to write. Graphics is kind of where I'm going to stop for a second. A lot of us always want to put a lot of information on graphics on social, but the thing is, the algorithms don't like when you put a lot of text on your graphic. For example, you have Starbucks compared to this other bakery shop, and I'm pretty sure this mom and pop shop had no idea. They want their customers to know everything at once, but Facebook actually reads this as spam. They won't push your information as much as a simple graphic. But also the importance is that if you keep your graphics simple, you're able to go ahead and just reuse it. Your caption, which is the top part here, where he says our feature isn't disposable, that part there is, you can edit it at the tip of your hand. So let's say, as we said earlier, you have to be reacting. So if there's a change, the time changed, or there was a product change, you have the capability to jump right from your phone, go onto that post, and change up the text. If you were to put everything inside your graphic, you would have to redo the graphic, re-upload the post, and it just takes more work. So just think about that. When you're creating a graphic, keep it simple and have all the content on your caption. And once again, push to the website if needed for more information. However, pictures, speak louder than words. And if you have really, really good high quality pictures that tell a story, that's more captivating than the graphic with text. For example, Starbucks here used a yummy burrito and a coffee. I think that speaks a lot, right? Gets us hungry this morning. So less text, the better. Heavy text does not work well with social algorithms, and pictures are a great way to tell a story. So if you're saying, okay, Paula, but I really don't have time to focus on social marketing. Well, organize yourself. Right now, the platforms offer a great way to schedule your content. I recommend you take one day out of the month, lay out your content. Facebook offers a creator studio, which you're able to schedule your posts ahead of time, which is key. Organization is key here. And Facebook, if you guys didn't know, owns Instagram. So Instagram is part of the Facebook Creator Studio that you can go ahead and schedule both out at the same time. Actually, last week or earlier this week, they launched a calendar view. So you're able to actually view it as a calendar and then schedule your post on there. So organize yourself, use Creator Studio for Facebook. However, I highly recommend using a content management tool. There's Sprout Social, there's Hootsuite, there's Sendable. I've used pretty much all of them, but Sprout for me has been the easiest one. They have a calendar view. I'm able to schedule Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all from one platform. You're able to put notes in there. I really, really love Sprout Social. So if you guys have a budget and you're able to really be part of like Sprout Social or Hootsuite, I totally recommend all of you using it for organization and for content creation. The last tool I kind of want to talk about is Instagram stories. So this kind of is not being really used to its full capacity. It captures your audience, and the cool thing is it does not stay on your feed. So these are Instagram stories. You can do video, you can do reels, you can use graphics, and at a certain point after having I think 10,000 followers, you're able to push right from your stories to your website. Because remember, Instagram, you're not able to put URL links on your feed. So you're able to do polls. These are just examples that we did as a city. It's really, really engaging. And for those who don't know what Instagram stories are, it's the top circles that you see on the top that you click what your what you watch from your followers, that's where it is. And it disappears in 24 hours. So let's say you have an important message for the day. You can upload it there, and then tomorrow you don't have to worry about it because it's gone. So I highly recommend you all look into IG stories for some marketing. You're also able to buy ads and put them to be part of Instagram stories. So I'm saying a lot, and I know, and I'm sorry, it's a lot when it comes to digital marketing. So it's very important that you know your role. You know, I'm very grateful that I have a huge team that can help me with video, copywriting, graphics, and everything else. But most importantly is you want to make sure your role is manageable. Being a business owner and handling marketing is a lot. And I know Madalina, our next speaker, is going to speak to you more about the full marketing strategy and what type of role you should be part of when planning a marketing strategy. So I just want to make sure and make it clear that you don't have to do it all if you can't. There's a lot of tools out there. There's a lot of help. So just focus on your business. But if you have time for marketing, it's very, very important. And obviously, I can't leave without talking about city resources. As a digital media manager for the city, I work very closely with a lot of departments. But of course, I can't stop talking about Chamber of Commerce. They are a huge, huge part of our city. You know, we are so thankful for having them. They work very well with businesses. And without them, we really wouldn't be sitting here learning something new. So thank you, Chamber of Commerce, for inviting me and for putting all this together. Second of all, our Economic Development Office is led by Christy. And I work very, very closely with this department. You guys met you and Deanna earlier today. They're here to help our businesses shine within the city. As a matter of fact, next week we begin to celebrate Economic Development Week, and we are asking our businesses to share with us why they chose to open their business here in Coral Springs. If you would like to share, please visit coralsprings.org/EDO Connect. And while you're there, I highly encourage you to sign up for their monthly newsletter. There's different ways that you can connect with the Economic Development Office and with the city. If you haven't connected with us, please follow Coral Springs EDO or the City of Coral Springs. We are actually looking forward to getting back to in-person events, and we'll have a lot of opportunities to partner up with businesses. So just make sure you follow us and connect with us. The city also pushes out a city newsletter every 2 weeks. So you can sign up for that at coralsprings.org/enews. And lastly, one thing COVID taught us this year was to go digital, right? So our building department has really adapted to online permitting, and right from your business, you are able to apply for a permit or check on the status. You may also visit coralsprings.org/online permits for more information. This department is run by Alex Hernandez. And if you have any questions, feel more than welcome to email him at ahernandez@coralsprings.org. So I know I ran through my presentation really quickly, but I do hope that if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to email me, or we can go ahead and, Cindy, I'm not sure if I can take questions now. You want to wait till after Madalina?
We could take questions now if anybody has anything. If you want to just type the questions in the Q&A. If anybody has questions. That was a lot, Paula.
Yeah, I'm loving though these. We had some baby boomers, we had some Gen Ys, some Generation X. Thank you everyone for chiming in, and welcome.
Thank you, Paula.
No worries. Sprout Social, awesome.
Does anybody have any questions?
I'm not seeing anything in the chat quite yet.
Very quiet today. Well, how about if we go to Madalina, and then maybe at the end, everyone could ask questions if they want to. Is that a good idea? Okay. So next up, you're going to hear from Madalina Iordache. Madalina is the CEO and Chief Strategist of Bright Pink Agency, an award-winning marketing and web design agency in Coral Springs, Florida. With a degree in journalism, a former career in digital art, and 13 plus years of experience in marketing, Madalina loves communication in all its forms. Most of all, she is passionate about helping small businesses grow themselves through planned, strategic, and international marketing. And I want to say Madalina is a proud member of our chamber as well. So Madalina, welcome.
Thank you, Cindy, for the wonderful introduction. And thank you for having me on this panel today. It's my pleasure. Second time I'm doing this with the chamber. And first, I want to say how much I appreciate everything the city and the chamber are doing for the business owners here. It's a very, very supportive environment with plenty of resources. And then secondly, Paula, I really admire what the city is doing on social media. I think it's exemplary. Any business can look at that as best practices. And I've always admired what you guys do there on all the different channels. Great job. Okay, so today my approach to this will be to talk a little more about the planning part. So I'm going to go ahead and share my PowerPoint. Okay. Second. Okay. So we're going to talk a bit about what a marketing plan is, why is it that you need a plan in the first place, how to prepare to create one, and then finally what that should look like. So if you're here, you're probably because you have some degree of interest in marketing. And by the way, I see a lot of familiar names in the participants panel. Thank you for coming here and watching this today. I hope you'll walk away with some useful information. I know you already have that from Paula's presentation, so I'm just going to try to supplement that. So if you have some interest in marketing, I think it's time to step back a little bit to what we call here step 0. And before you start with any tactics, to look at the planning part. So first, some statistics. 91% of customers who visited a store, they did it because of an online experience. They had some digital experience with that brand before. 92% of business owners believe that having a website is the most effective digital marketing strategy. 96% of small businesses say they use social media in their marketing strategy. However, at the same time, only 1 in 5 small businesses doesn't utilize digital marketing. I mean, that's a lot. 1/5 of businesses don't take advantage of this, even though it drives so much, whether they're brick and mortar or more of a digital brand. Only 64% of small businesses have a website, even though the website is your hub. Remember what Paula said, that's where you want to drive your traffic, your prospects. They should be going to your website beside meeting you on social media and other places. And then 1 in 10 small businesses don't invest in any kind of marketing. So obviously that's not good. And I think we learned a lot of lessons last year, because once you can't be in front of people in person, then digital is pretty much your only choice. So my question for you is, do you have a marketing plan? So if you will, please type yes or no or Y and N in the chat so I can get an idea about what your current situation is. I'll wait another minute or a few seconds. Working on it. I like that. So if you answered no, you're not alone. I have yet to find a conclusive study that says how many small businesses have a marketing plan. In a study from 2019, it says that about 50% of small businesses don't have a marketing plan. But in my experience, in the 13 years we've been running marketing for various small businesses here in South Florida, and not just in South Florida, the businesses that came to us with needing help with their marketing, they either didn't have a plan or their plan was so outdated that it was no longer relevant. So I would say that a lot has changed since 2019, thanks to last year. But let's assume that's correct. What does that tell us? So it tells us that half the business is either, sorry about that, they either focus on tactics and not the big picture. So people generally come to us saying, we need a website, or we need the social media plan, or we need the logo. And that's fine when you're just trying to get off the ground. But when you're trying to grow and you're trying to put out a consistent message to attract not just about anyone, but your ideal clients, then a marketing plan becomes a must. The other issue is the budget, or rather the lack of a budget. A small budget is actually the best reason why you should have a plan first, because the alternative is trial and error, and that can be very costly. Another one of those reasons is time, or rather the lack of time. And small business owners, oftentimes they just get wrapped up in the doing part of the business, in sales and business development and servicing their clients. And marketing is the last thing they're good at and the last thing they want to spend their time on. And honestly, to be good at anything, you have to invest time in it, and you have to keep up with it constantly. And marketing is changing constantly. So small business owners generally don't have the time to invest to become good at marketing. So the lack of time is why they end up using tactics instead of strategy. But a strategic approach would be a much better use of their time, especially when they don't have a lot of time to spend on that, because it would allocate the little time they can spend on marketing where it matters the most. And then finally, there's this thinking that a marketing plan is for the big brands. It's not for small businesses. Well, guess what? Bigger brands, they have more money and more time to invest in marketing, and bigger teams, and small businesses don't. So that's yet another reason why you, as a small business owner or leader, you have to be strategic about your marketing. So what exactly is a marketing plan, and how do you create one? At Bright Pink, we call this marketing zero, because we call it the step before step one. Before you start with the tactics, before you start with your branding or rebranding or your website, you need to step back and look at the big picture. So what the marketing plan is, it's called, it's more of a guide and a blueprint that defines your goals and also defines how you're going to use strategic actions to accomplish your goals. And to be effective, a marketing plan needs to be clear, concise, actionable, and adaptable. So when I mean clear, I mean skip the fluff. You're not doing this for your board of directors. You're doing this for yourself and for your team. So as clear as possible. Concise, it's not a manual, it's a guide, and nobody wants to flip through a 100-page document on a daily basis or as often as you want to dedicate time to marketing. Actionable, your next steps will come from this plan. So when it's time for you to take action, whether you're continuing something or you want to try something new, that's where you would go to your plan, and that will tell you your next steps. And adaptable, because it's a living document and you should revise it every year. Things change often. Just look at last year. A lot of things didn't work out that were probably there in the previous plan. So it's important that you continually adapt your plan and revise it with what currently the market needs and currently your company needs. So in order to create a marketing plan, we have a workbook. So let me see if I can paste that in here. It's a Dropbox link. You can go ahead and download it. If you don't have access to it, if you're not able to, just email me. I'll have my contact information at the end, and I will email that to you as an attachment. But we use this exact workbook to get some information from our clients, to get them thinking and answer some questions that are very important in creating a marketing plan. So such questions are like, who are you? We're trying to define their business identity. What do you want? So the goals, right? What makes you so special? What is your unique value proposition? That's what it's going to lead to. Who is your customer? And don't tell me anyone, because we're going to talk about ideal clients. And how are they going to get to you? And that's the tactics part. And that's where usually what everyone goes straight to the tactics. So that's why it's last, because we have to have these other answers before we jump into tactics. So yes, small businesses usually go straight there, but these questions will help us get organized and be a little more strategic in our planning. So these are some pages from the workbook I had mentioned earlier. And I'm just going to walk you through it because it's brief. It has enough explanations on every page to help you get started with this, but I'm just going to walk you through it quickly. So first of all, what are you selling? That's the first question. So that you may think that does not apply to you because, you know, say you're an attorney. So what am I selling? I'm selling family law. That's what we do. Well, the thing is, it's a matter of perspective. For instance, you sell insurance, but maybe you decide that you realize that your homeowner's insurance part is your bread and butter, or maybe you do disaster remediation and you're cleaning up after a water, fire, and mold damage. But then you realize that your bread and butter is water damage restoration, and that's what makes up, say, 80% of your income. You can also think of it in terms of the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, where 80% of your revenue sometimes comes from 20% of your actions and so on. So just be really look closely at where your income is coming from and what is it, what's the biggest contributor to that. Another way to look at that is to think of it as what is it that you're really selling, okay? So are you selling the drill or are you selling a hole in the wall? Are you selling a mattress or are you selling a good night's sleep? Because people don't buy services, they buy outcomes. So what is it that you're really contributing to your customers' better lifestyle or success, or how you're taking their pain away? Think of it in that terms as well, as far as what you're selling. Then next, we're going to look into who you are selling to. So for that purpose, we're going to define the client persona or the ideal client profile. And I don't know why these are showing up one by one, but these are some of the things that help you define your client persona. So to make that client persona as real as possible, I encourage you to find a picture on the internet that would define that. You saw how Paula put a photo for every one of the generations. It's so much easier to picture even a generation when you put a face on it rather than just some abstract letter, right? So give them a name, give them an age. Yes, you may be catering to people within 35 and 65, but come up with a number that is the most typical. What's their level of education? What's their occupation? What is their income level, their family status? What background do they have? What do they read? What do they do in their free time? And then we get to questions that are really important, such as how did they find you? And what challenges do they have? What are their pain points and biggest fears? And finally, why do they choose you? And we'll see in a moment how we get to those answers. So just try as much as possible to make it as a real person, because in the future, when you're going to start constructing your marketing messages, whether they're images you can put on Instagram or the text that goes with the image or a newsletter, it's so much easier for you to create that content addressing a person than a demographic group, something that's really wide and nondescript. So you can basically imagine that you're writing and you're always addressing to one person instead of a group. Okay, then we're going to look at defining your brand. What is the one thing that people should remember about you? What is it that makes you different? You can write down about what do you stand against in your industry? What do you absolutely hate about your industry that you think you can do better? What is your voice and brand personality? How do you want to be perceived? Do you want to be perceived as helpful or cheerful, or you want to be perceived as serious and somber, or like what is it? How do you want that personality to come across in your messaging? And what is it that's going to draw their attention? And what will set you apart from other businesses that offer the same service? This is really important because you may oftentimes people think that their market is overly saturated. There's so many insurance brokers in South Florida. There's so many people who do damage restoration. There's so many providers of, I don't know, plumbing or marketing. But how are you making your company stand out from the other ones? And believe it or not, it's never oversaturated. There's always something you can do to set yourself apart. And that's exactly the role of a strategy, of having a marketing strategy. All right, then you're going to want to assess your brand. What would your ideal client think of your brand today? Like exactly what it looks like today, from your branding to every tactic that you're currently using. I think I went too far. Okay, sorry about that. I'm not really sure how to go back. Okay, so in order to assess your brand, you want to take a really good look at things like your logo, your unique selling proposition or unique value proposition, your current marketing collateral, like your business cards and your brochures, anything that your customers get in contact with and with your brand. Your website, very important, and even the text that you use, or like even aside from your website as a whole, looking more carefully at the exact words that you use on your website or on your social media. What would your ideal client that you defined at the previous step, what would they think of their brand today? Does it speak to them how you would hope it does? So at this point, you would get to rate those in the workbook. You would get to rate them, right? So then finally, we're going to look at implementation. So because a plan only works if it's implemented. It's not good if it just sits there on paper. It has to become something. So for implementation, we're going to look at how do you reach your ideal clients and where exactly do they find you? What's their normal buying process? And are your marketing assets meeting their expectations? So these are really hard questions to answer, because I'm sure everybody at their first look, they're going to say, I don't know, I have no idea. But you can find that if you're trying to backtrack through several scenarios and just kind of like going backwards from when they found you. So for instance, if they were referred to you by a friend, which happens a lot of local businesses depend or rely heavily on referrals for growing their businesses. So if they were referred by a friend, they're probably checking out your website to learn more about you. So what do they want to know when they go to your website? Do they want to read about your experience, your accreditations? Do they want to see case studies? Do they want to see your prices? If they don't commit, if they're not ready to pay up and sign up and call you right away, what are they supposed to do? Now, what if you came up, say, in a Facebook ad, and that was their first encounter with your brand? Does that ad lead to a landing page that assures that you can handle whatever this problem you're having or challenge they're having? Is it clear and concise? Are there plenty of credibility checkpoints, such as reviews, testimonials, seals and badges, as seen on TV, any of that stuff? Is it there to improve on the credibility? Are they getting any valuable information from what's on that landing page? Now, what if you were to show up in a Google search? Are you showing up in your local searches when someone is searching for that keyword? Is your Google My Business listing on point? Do you have reviews that set you apart from the competitors? If you were to Google your service and you compare yourself with your competitors, where do you stand there? Because that would be your customer's experience, like trying to put yourself in their shoes, right? They will be comparing you with the other ones that show up. Are you using Google Posts to help your listing stand out? And then, very important, yes, it's still important, because to this day, I'm still amazed sometimes that some websites are not mobile friendly. Is your website mobile friendly? Does it load nicely and fast and clean on a mobile device? Because People are not necessarily viewing your website from a desktop. In fact, that is rather the exception, not the rule. And then what if they were a customer before? Are you keeping in touch with former customers? What about regular customers? Are you sending them valuable information so you can remain at the top of their mind for when they need your services again? And then you can go ahead and list any marketing tactics that you think may be relevant to your customers on that same page where you backtrack to the scenarios. All right. So here's the thing. This sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, and it's quite a challenge, because I've realized that for all of us, including for us as a small business as well, it's hard to step outside your own persona to see things from your customer's perspective. So you're trying to think of as someone else, right? The other challenge that I'm seeing with small businesses is that you know your jargon very well, and you tend to speak in it because you use it every day, but your customers don't necessarily understand that. So when you write, whether you do it on your website or on your social media or in an email newsletter, make sure you limit the jargon as much as possible. In fact, a fourth grader that reads your content should be able to understand, and that should be your rule of thumb right there. Like, if a fourth grader can understand it, you're doing good. And then the other challenge is that, how do you know what you don't know? That's the toughest part, right? So it's really hard to know to know what you should be doing in marketing without educating yourself for that. And unfortunately, people just don't have time for that. The small business owners are very busy, and it's really hard to find the time to keep on top of all the marketing trends and go to industry events and learn all the things to help yourself with your marketing. And the thing is, you may think you're saving money by trying to do certain things yourself, but that's kind of like, would you learn to do plumbing because you want to save some money instead of calling a plumber? So I have a funny story about that actually. A friend of mine did exactly that. He figured he'll fix his own kitchen sink because he was leaking, right? So he spent the weekend watching some YouTube videos, and he did it. He did not have to call a plumber. He fixed it himself. He was very proud. And then on Sunday evening, he takes his wife, goes out to dinner. And when he came back home, he came back to find his house sitting in 5 inches of water because he over tightened the compression fitting, thinking, tighter is better. And it popped. So he did save a couple $100 that he would have paid on a plumber, but he spent a few $1,000s in deductibles to his insurance policy. And it ended up being a $40,000 job. And ended up with a very angry wife who did not have a kitchen for a few weeks. So my point is that if you are going into a domain that you know very little about, to save a couple $100, you're gonna end up spending more in the long run. So at this point, you gotta decide, like, okay, do you need some help to help you from someone who's doing this, who is more immersed in marketing and knows more about it to help you with that, which can save you a lot more money in the long run. So let's go back to marketing planning. What should your marketing plan actually include? So let's go here step by step. Number one should be goals. You can start here by including your mission and vision and your core values as your overarching goals, but also include specific marketing goals. So for instance, these are from some of our clients over the past few years. Well, their goal was maybe to increase their revenue to $6 million for their business to consumer market in the next 3-4 years. They already had the business to business market covered, and they were creating this plan because they wanted to break into the business to consumer market. So that is very specific. That's something that should be sitting at the top of your plan, so you can never forget why you're doing this. You're doing this because you're targeting this goal, but also your core values and mission and vision should also be there, because you're in business for a reason, and your reason is not just to make $6 million in revenue. Your reason is hopefully bigger than that. You want to contribute something bigger to your buyers and employees and all of that. Then you should include that ideal client profile. So I'm including here some examples, and I have two more on the next page of how we create this ideal client profiles. So like I said, just be very, very specific. So this first one on the left is for financial advisor. So in his case, he's targeting people who are have a certain degree of wealth and just trying to go through their specifics. On the right side is a software company that creates software for capital improvement projects. So their ideal client is more of a project manager at, say, like a water management district or something like that. And then a few other examples on the left, we have an ideal customer, an ideal client profile for a company that's targeting business to consumer products. So it's Melissa, the millennial mom, and you have some features about her background, her occupation, her family, her household income, which is more important here than in the previous case with the project manager, because it's important to know their buying power as well. And then on the right side, you have more of a niche business. In this case, it's a tattoo supply company that sells to tattoo artists. So of course, his profile is quite different than the one on the left. Right. And then besides those features, you want to write down in great detail the scenarios about how do they find you, what their challenges are, what specific features would set them apart from other customers. And really important is to address the pain points. What is it that they're trying to solve? What problem they have they're trying to solve? They're the biggest fears. And finally, why? Just try to create the scenario. Why is it that they decide to work with you? Why did they choose you? How did you inspire them to choose you over another provider of the same service or the same product? Number 3, you want to write down your unique value proposition. So this unique value proposition has to position the prospective client, not you, but your ideal client, as the protagonist. They are the hero of their story, and you are their helper. You are, like in any story, right? If you look at any Hollywood blockbuster or any good best-selling novel, there's always a hero, and the hero has a sidekick. Your role is always the sidekick. You're not the hero. Your ideal client is the hero. So make sure you portray it that way in your unique value proposition. So you have the protagonist, you have to identify the problem and spell it out, because that's how they're going to figure out, oh, this speaks to me. And then you're going to be suggesting that your company is in the possession of a solution to their problem, and that will lead to success. And these are the key elements of creating that unique value proposition for your brand. And then next, you want to address your brand message, your voice and personality. So this is the part where you can be really specific. If you have a tagline, that would be part of it. But if there's any other specific language that you want to include in your marketing messages going forward, you can include that here. It's not set in stone. It's not like you can change that later when you start creating the tactics, but it's helpful to have that from the beginning. And this is a part where you can start writing down those differentiating features and benefits, what that set your product or your service apart from those of your competitors. Also your voice and personality, again, who you want to be, the friendly neighbor, or you want to be more the professor and scientist who's teaching about the scientific part of the product you're selling. And then you can include here any visuals, because oftentimes brands who create a marketing plan for the first time, it's not their first step in business. It's usually a couple of years later, after they've already learned that they have a viable business and they're ready to take it to the next level. So at that point, there's already been some degree of materials created over the time, whether they're visuals or verbiage, copy text, or any of that. So then at this point, you can look back in those and see what is it that's good and it still fits with what we're trying to do now and what should change and how that should change. And then we're gonna look into reaching your target marketing, reaching your target market. And this is where we would list tactics. And for every tactic would be, quite a bit of information about how that tactic can help them. And this varies a lot by industry, but we're going to take a look at the examples we had before just to show you some comparisons. So for instance, for the financial advisor, in their marketing plan, we suggested that they should be doing email marketing, social media marketing, they should have some sales funnels, and then individual mailings. And that's what they were already doing some of that, and then others were completely new to them. Now for the capital improvement software, we suggested they do trade shows and events. Social media really didn't apply to them since they were the ideal client was quite niche, but they were the type of clients that would be met at a trade show or an event. The shock and awe packages, if you don't know what those are, it's not like when you send a mailer, right? It comes in a stack of many other mailers and sometimes you don't even notice, it just goes in the recycling bin right away. But when you send an actual package and it's maybe branded and it looks curious, you spark their curiosity, nobody's going to throw that away, and they will open it and go through it and find something of some value. As an example, a couple of years ago, I received from a software company this huge frame. It was very, very large, that had this map and in like a puzzle, and then our name was printed, our company name was printed in there, and there was this puzzle you had to solve, and it would lead you to their name somewhere. So that was quite impressive. It's just a different type of tactic that it's not necessarily for business to consumer. Lunch and learns are also a great tactic for business to business. Email marketing still, and then digital ads paired with their respective landing pages. For the consumer product, we suggested social media marketing, influencer marketing, remarketing and paid media, and then email marketing, and also PR and earned media. And for the niche product from the tattoo industry, we suggested also social media marketing, influencer marketing, remarketing, email marketing, trade shows and conventions for them, and also print advertising in industry publication. So if you look through all four, and I don't have a way to show all four at once, but I realized that the common thread in all of them is email marketing. And I was just talking about this yesterday during a lunch and learn, that it's kind of like that tactic that people disregard because it's so old, like, oh, who still does email marketing? Well, it's still one of the most effective tactics. It has an ROI of like 122%. It's one of the cheapest to implement, and it's still wildly overlooked by many small businesses. So I encourage you to look into that regardless of your industry. All right, and then your marketing plan should have a section that talks about converting your leads. And what does that mean is, what do your materials need to show that take the lead? So you brought someone to your website, or you brought them to your social media. What do they need to see there that they actually take action? And for your website in particular, because that really should be your hub for all the tactics, it's important to have reviews and testimonials. It's important to have case studies, any awards you've received. If you're part of organizations such as your Chamber of Commerce, have their logo displayed on your website. If you're part of other professional organizations, if you have accreditations from different institutions, make sure you display those. And one that everyone ignores is they don't realize how important it is to have clear contact information. This does so much for a website's credibility. If you have a phone number, an address, a physical address, if it's a local business, and an email address to contact, because this shows transparency. This shows you're a real business. You're not just trying to hide behind a website address. So all of these contribute to converting your leads. This is how you take someone who somehow landed on your website, whether they came from Google or an ad or from your social media, and they start to learn more about you and gain trust, gain their trust. Then your marketing plan should also touch on increasing customer lifetime value. Well, attracting a new customer is difficult and sometimes expensive, but their lifetime value is something you have to take into account. Sometimes it costs a little more to attract a customer, and you may not be making a profit on the first transaction, but if they have a chance of becoming a repeat customer, then it's absolutely worth it. So it's up to you to make sure that customer stays a customer by providing an exceptional experience, by just nurturing the relationship continuously, by sending them valuable information, even in between purchases, and then seeing if there's a way you can provide more value to them. If they buy a product, what other products you can provide to them that kind of go with your first product that would improve the value. And some companies also turn their products or services into subscription products or subscription services. So that's another way to make sure that when you acquire a customer, they are with you for a really long time. Then your marketing plan should also include a section about increasing customer reviews and referrals. You need to have a review and referral strategy to make sure that word of mouth is not just left up to chance. You can't just do a great job and expect your customers will refer others to you. You kind of have to ask for that. You have to have a strategy in place, whether you incentivize them by, say, giving them a discount and giving their friend a discount when they come on board, or even if you're not ready or you're not in the position to offer a discount, ask for a review, because when a client post a review for your business on Google My Business or on Facebook or on another channel, then many others will see that. And people trust these reviews as much as they trust recommendations from their friends and family. So it's really, really important to do that. And with business to business, you have to ask for those referrals. So maybe prepare your clients from the beginning that would be an expectation. Like if they have a good experience working with you, they'll be asked to refer you or introduce you to another business or another friend who could also benefit from the same excellent service you provided. So keep that in mind. And then finally, your marketing plan should include pricing and a timeline. Again, if you're planning, you have to plan for your budget as well, not just for tactics. And it's hard to know that from not being in the industry. So whoever creates your marketing plan for you, make sure they include pricing and a timeline, because with all these different tactics, as you saw before, between email marketing and influencer marketing and social media and so on, what do you do first? What order should this come? And how does it make sense to approach this? So timeline can help spell things out and make things a lot more easier to understand and more systematic too, because as a small business, you're not going to be able to do everything at once. You're going to have to stagger this somehow. So your marketing agency should help you decide what's the best course of action for how to apply these. And pricing should also be included for all the different tactics, so you can plan accordingly. Okay, and then finally, your action plan should be first to fill out your worksheet that will help you process the questions and get the answers before you start putting together your marketing plan. And then create a marketing plan. If you want to take a stab at it and do it yourself, that's fine. My recommendation would be to hire an agency, because they've done this before and they can, it's less trial and error that way. And in the end, it will save you both time and your marketing budget. And then finally, don't just have a plan, but implement it, because a plan is only good if you actually put it into action and make it happen. And that's entirely up to you. So that's all I had. I am hoping you found this useful. I'm hoping you have questions for me or for Paula. I'll be happy to answer them.
That was amazing, Madalina. And that tool that you gave out is such a great resources for businesses. So thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for Paula or Madalina? We gotta thank so much, Madalina.
I'm not seeing any questions in the Q&A. Don't be shy, everyone. If you've got one, type it in.
Okay.
It was very informative. Thank you very much.
Awesome presentations.
Yep.
Thanks, Gil. Okay. Well, I hope you learned at least 3 things you can use to enhance your business. Thank you to our fantastic panel of guest speakers. That was amazing today. And thanks for providing us with this educational opportunity. I want to thank our sponsors, the City of Coral Springs Economic Development Office and FPL. So next month is the last Biz Academy class of the 2021 season, and it will be on Thursday, June 3rd, and it's called Franchising and E-Commerce, the Art of Not Reinventing the Wheel. And the guest speakers are going to be Nastasia Laguerre, owner of Nothing Bundt Cakes, which is now in not only in Coral Springs, but Fort Lauderdale as well. Lisa Finch, owner and Chief Creative Officer of Sinorama Coral Springs, and Eric Syverson, CEO of CenterLink Media. So we look forward to seeing you there, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation as much as I did. So thank you.
Thank you, guys.